Martin Brundle loves talking about Max Verstappen, and I have to give it to him. He says unexpected things about the 4-time Formula 1 champion. This time, he said that Verstappen, if he decided to leave Oracle Red Bull Racing, would find a lot of closed doors at other teams. Well, I have an opinion on Brundle's opinion, so let's dive into this a little further, shall we? I'm Wimbo. Here's 3 seconds to leave a like. I found an article from the always reliable Racing News 365, which is called Martin Brundle Fears for Max Verstappen with Closed Doors Warning. It explains that Martin Brundle spoke about how top teams will be able to accommodate Max Verstappen if he decides to leave Red Bull. He admits that Red Bull has a job at hand to keep Max at the Milton Keynes team. He said that options are severely limited because the 3 top teams have lineups that are settled in already. Therefore, if Red Bull can't get the RB22 in a good place and Max Verstappen wants out, he might have nowhere to go. Here are the proper quotes. Mercedes has got 2 homegrown talents in their car, in Russell and Antonelli. And McLaren has set fair with a tremendous lineup that works. It gels very much. Ferrari with Leclerc and Hamilton. So if somebody springs out of one of those cars, then there's a slot for Max. But the teams can't if they're contracted, and won't want to boot out some great drivers and great driver lineups. And if you're going to leave Red Bull for performance only, it's going to have to be one of those 3 teams I just mentioned. On the surface, these comments are not that strange. But why is this a very different opinion than what we're used to? Well, it's because for over a year now, we've been hearing stories about Max Verstappen going to a range of different teams for incredible amounts of money, or just to follow ex-Red Bull staff, the former colleagues of Max. The one and only Max Verstappen has been hailed as the best driver on the grid, so the normal consensus was that doors would swing open for him. No problem whatsoever. So yeah, let's see if what Sky Sports F1's commentator and former F1 driver Martin Brundle says holds up. First of all, we're talking about something hypothetical here. As far as I know, Max Verstappen promised Narisic to stay with Red Bull for his whole career, and I see no reason why he wouldn't uphold this promise. Yes, he doesn't like the regulations, and he doesn't like where the RB22 is now. But these are things that can change quickly in this dynamic sport. Also, time flies. We'll be in Abu Dhabi before we know it. 2027 might look very different again as well. Getting the engine split changed will be a big ask, as 3 manufacturers have already spoken out against it. But who knows what tweaks will be implemented to make their racing great again. So, if Max Verstappen stays at Red Bull, it's not because no top team wants him, it's because he's in a team that revolves around him. He gets to do whatever he wants outside of Formula 1, he's one of the best paid drivers out there, and above all, he's not there to break records. He's not going to sell his soul on the off chance that he might win some more championships at another team. At this moment, he wants to drive a car flat out again and get into the mix for podiums. If that's possible this season, he won't leave at all. Again, not because he's stuck, but because of the loyalty to the team that he's a huge part of. Laurent Mekies tells us this all the time, how much Max is involved in everything. And then there are things coming in the future that might solve a few big issues they have as well. Like for instance, their wind tunnel. This ancient thing they use now is from World War II, and apparently it gives different data depending on the weather. The numbers are a lot smaller when it's cold. You can tell that F1 is still a man's world. So from somewhere in the 2027 season onwards, they'll have this new wind tunnel, which will be state of the art, and then we can judge Pierre Waché and his designs. Okay, let's look at the reason why Martin Brundle thinks Verstappen is locked out of joining another top team. He says that the other teams have great lineups, so tough luck for Max. Obviously, in the history of F1, no driver has ever been paid out of a contract to let somebody else join, right? Except for Piastri at McLaren. This got his compatriot Daniel Ricciardo paid out of his contract. Since we're talking about McLaren here, let's see how open they are to signing Verstappen. Zak Brown stated in April, "We have no intention of replacing any of the two superstars." He said that if Verstappen were to leave, he'd go to Mercedes. But a few weeks before that, it was all over the internet that Zak Brown was closely monitoring the Max Verstappen situation. That McLaren had an ace up their sleeve to get Verstappen because of GP working there in the future. It's also reported that Mark Webber isn't so keen on McLaren anymore because of the papaya rules at McLaren. An Oscar Piastri-Max Verstappen swap isn't that far-fetched. Red Bull knows how to look after a star driver. Look at how well they looked after Vettel in the past. So a space could easily be made at McLaren if Max wants that. Then Ferrari also said that the Verstappen situation was something they kept an eye on. Replacing world champion Lewis Hamilton with world champion Max Verstappen isn't a crazy idea. Hamilton might call it quits if this season doesn't pan out. Again, a Verstappen lineup would be mouthwatering, and it's something I'd really like to see. Ferrari loves hiring champions, and they have the means to pay Verstappen as well. The only thing they need to do is put a muzzle on the Dutchman, because Ferrari doesn't like criticism. Anyway, Max is staying put, but if he wanted to, he'd be welcome in Maranello, no doubt. And then Mercedes. Toto Wolff has been very active and forward with trying to sign Verstappen. They had meetings and everything. This is the reason why Russell was only offered a 1-year deal with an option for another season. Why would Toto do that if it wasn't for the possibility of finally getting Verstappen after missing out on him in 2015? I'm 100% convinced that if Max wanted to sign a deal this weekend, he'd get one from Toto. No doubt about it. And George Russell's worst nightmare would become a reality. His bully gets his seat. So that's 3 open doors already, if Verstappen wanted to leave Red Bull. Aston Martin is hoping to be a top team soon as well. It was rumoured that the investors made an offer that would pay Max $200 million per year for 5 years. So $1 billion! Look, I have nothing against Martin Brundle. He's a good commentator and he's well connected inside of F1. One reason why he might have said what he said about Verstappen is that if Verstappen walks away from the sport, he can say it was because no team wanted him. Working for Sky Sports F1 has made him a little biased. So a story about Verstappen being stuck or unwanted resonates well with the Sky customers. He also said that Lewis Hamilton will win races this season and possibly even an A title. So yeah, just like me and my channel, he says what people want to hear. If I told you what you wanted to hear in this video, please subscribe. Comments are always welcome. I react to most of them. I also have memberships enabled for people who like behind the scenes videos and early access to my content. It's a great way to support my modest channel, even if it's only for a month or two. Thank you for watching. Take care now. Doei doei.